clearly Mr. Q. When you do talks here, you're not really supposed to be political or talk about religion. What's the other one you're supposed to talk about?
Sex.
Sex. No sex. There's no religion. And the subject matter, I always try to keep it fairly current. I really want to sort of make a comparison between, obviously, Boris Johnson's big in the news today, and Donald Trump. And it's a kind of Hobson's choice in that respect. None of them have any kind of vitality, as far as I'm concerned. Shoot all that in. And yeah, so it's basically a kind of like a Hobson's choice. A lot of these scenarios are: would you rather Donald Trump or Boris Johnson? And for many of you, that's just a horrific scenario for many of you. Some people you might think it's great. However, so I'm not going to go on too long. I'm really still slightly discombobulated by this floor. So I've invited a number of people, a couple of guests, and just let me say straight away, thank you for agreeing to take part. I think very brave. When I first came up, I could barely say a sentence. Absolutely, just crapping myself basically. So I think it's great, and so well done before I get into this gig. So the first person I'm going to invite up to the stage is Debbie, and predictably it's who would you rather get stuck in a lift with, and why? Boris. A lot of these you can't just say yes and then sit down again. You have to qualify this with a why. So who would you rather get stuck in a lift with, Boris or Donald Trump? So I'd like to invite Debbie up to give us
Good evening. I guess I won't say before I start because I've already started. I'd like to say that I don't know any of the etiquette. Clearly we're not allowed to speak about politics, which we are now doing, so I'm totally confused as to what we are and aren't allowed to speak about.
Anything goes.
Yes, well, considering I don't know much about politics, and I choose not to watch the news because I feel that there's a lot of negative vibes and preconceived and edited content for us there. I can just speak of visual things. So getting into a lift with Donald Trump or with Boris Johnson seems to me visually the same thing, because both of them don't really have hairdressers or have any regard for combs or any, visual, I don't know, sorting out their hair in the morning, perhaps. I think on both accounts they come across visually as people that take risks, because surely if you go out in public with a hairdo, as both of them do, that you are a risk taker. I expect both of them are risk takers. And I would say it would be a lot more fun in a lift with Boris Johnson, seeing as I see him as a fun-loving, risk-taking person. But I think with Donald Trump, perhaps, it might be a bit more of a business conversation and a bit of an argument. So perhaps I would say Boris Johnson on that regard. And I don't really know how to end this off, so this is the end.
Okay, a couple of things I didn't mention. Obviously, you've got to try and speak between 1 and 2 minutes, and if you go beyond 2 minutes, the red light goes on, and then somebody rings a bell. And also, it's etiquette. The only etiquette is when you come up, you shake my hand, and then when you sit down, you shake my hand. So I didn't mention that. So rubbish, topics master, quite frankly. Simon's an expert at this sort of stuff, so I thought I'd choose the most opaque subject on this one. So Simon, I'm going to call Simon Vagdama up, and his question is: Martians have landed on the Earth, and they want to do a trade deal. And who do you send in to negotiate, Boris or Donald? So I'd like to invite Simon
to It's a split decision. If it was Donald Trump, he'd be working out, well, how much can I screw these guys for staying at Mar-a-Lago? $300 a night plus bed bugs extra. They can find out about life on planet Earth. Or should I get the emphatic liar, Boris Johnson? Because we know what he's like with sharing his accommodation with people of the opposite sex. And we can assume that the Martians, or the aliens, are both male and female, or indeterminate sex, depending upon how they want to procreate. And let's see how he gets on if he wants to perhaps be invited up to their space station, share a few glasses of vino, and maybe just toss it on their workbench and see what happens. Would they go ape? If Martians go ape? Do they become green? Do they become angry? We don't know. But the interesting thing is, they're both going to be self-centered and self-serving. Boris will say, look at it, I've created a fantastic deal. These people, they didn't want to have a relationship with us, but I've created a relationship. They now want to do business with me. It won't take years to negotiate. It'll take a few seconds, because with my specific knowledge of Greek poetry, Greek expressions, I can BS and BS them. You won't understand a single word I'm saying. And it'll be biff-baffing, splish-splashing, wonderful stuff. They'll be so excited with me, they'll think I'm an honest broker, that they'll want to do business with me. Whereas Trump, he won't get a flying toss. He'll just look at them and think, you're green. What's green? Greenbacks. Greenbacks are dollars. So I'm going to really, really, really screw you for a lot of money. And, as an incentive, I'll even get my attractive wife to act as a bit of bait for you, almost like clickbait. That's all I've got time for, thank God for that.
So I'm going to ask Tinsy to come up. You have the opportunity to share a selfie on your social media feed and boast about who you've just met. Boris or Donald? You can go off.
Good evening, Trojans. Boris or Trump? A selfie. Okay. So I think I would post a selfie with Boris Johnson because maybe red lipstick looks nicer with blonde hair, but then again, Trump has blonde hair, right?
Yes.
Or was it ginger?
No, it's
Okay. Yeah, I think who would love that selfie the most out of my family and friends? Boris Johnson. Maybe my mother, probably not. She doesn't even watch the news. What can I say about Boris and Trump? I have no idea because I don't even pay attention to them, to be fair. They don't affect my life in any way. So, okay, I'm going blank here. Is that a green light? Does that mean keep going?
You're good. You're good.
You're good.
I'm good.
You're
Yeah.
good.
Keep going.
You can stop or
Oh, can I
keep
stop?
I love the green light. So Cornwall, I'm going to ask, is the next victim. What name would you give to your child, Boris or Donald? And why?
Would I give to my child? It would have to be Trump. I mean, not because I like Trump or I like Boris, but just between the two names, Trump card, Trump. Whereas Boris, I don't know, it reminds me of, some kind of a cream. Was there back in the day some cream called Boris Johnson? Yeah, actually reminds me of a medical something. So yeah, I mean, if I had a son, and I actually lost a son, so it was a long time ago, so I'm not that sentimental about it. But yeah, I mean, I lost him before, when he was born, and he only lived for 1 minute. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring this up, but I couldn't help it when you said. So anyway, if I had to name a son out of the two, it would definitely be Trump, and I would hope that he would trump over good and trump over evil rather, and stand for good, and that's probably why I would choose the name Trump. I mean, you know, you can look at Trump either way, not President Trump, but the word Trump. You can trump over many things in life. Thank you.
Okay, so the last one is Ahmed. Ahmed, is that right? Ahmed, yeah. Who would you trust to look after your wallet for a day, and why? Boris or Donald? Welcome.
Wow, that's such an interesting question, and I was hoping for a relatable one for me personally. The problem is I don't carry a wallet. But if I had a wallet, and currently my wallet is my phone, so that's where I keep my cards, who would I trust? Would I trust Boris or Donald Trump? I think they're both as bad as each other, but if I had to make that decision, then I have to look at integrity, and I have to think who might have a little bit more of an integrity to look after it. I would choose Donald Trump over Boris. I think Boris, looking at his past history, he doesn't seem to have any form of integrity. He's likely to he is likely not to say what he will be doing, and therefore, oh, thank God the green came on. So yeah, if I had to choose between the two, I think it's a difficult decision. I'll be looking for a third option, really. But if the two had to be the case, then I'll give it to Donald Trump and pray that he keeps it safe. And hopefully, with the amount of money he's got and the position that he has, the content of my wallet is not going to entice him and make him, dip into that. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so that's it. Thank you all for playing. It's not always easy. I think you all did very well. And then some of them weren't easy questions. I think I tried to snooker Simon with that particular question. But yeah, I just want to say thank you very much. It's been great.
Okay, so hurtling on to our next segment, I'd like to invite Mishra, our timekeeper, up to give us the time report for the table topic speakers.
What happens when you annoy a clock? Come on, people.
What's the question?
What happens when you annoy a clock? Of course it gets ticked off. Okay, table topics. Debbie was first up here. She spoke for 1 minute 53 seconds. Simon, 2 minutes 9 seconds. Tinzi, 1 minute 14 seconds. Komal spoke for 1 minute 16 seconds. And Ahmed, 1 minute 33 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Mishra. Can we get 30 seconds on the clock so that we can vote for our favourite table topic speaker? And you can use your slips. very much. So as with all of our prepared speeches, our table topic speakers will get an evaluation as well. So we now have campaigns who will come up and give us a succinct evaluation of all of our table topic speakers. Let's welcome her.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Tim, for bringing so much vitality to the second part of the evening and giving us Boris and Trump to draw on. I thought they were very funny questions, and everybody sort of rose to the challenge. We'll start off with Debbie. Debbie, a guest, taking on table topics for the first time. I thought she did really well. She came up here, she looked natural, she looked relaxed. She said she answered honestly, I don't know much about politics, but then she used that to advantage. She talked about her own viewpoint, which led on to her talking about, okay, let me think about how they look visually, which I thought was quite clever. So she said visually the hair is all over the place and therefore they look like risk takers. So she was able to weave a story which kept us engaged. So very well done for that. The recommendation that I would have for Debbie is there was a little bit of hand clasping, which in Toastmasters we kind of say it's a sign of a little bit of nerves, but I felt like, you didn't stay there for too long, but maybe think for your next table topic, think about opening up even more and keeping that sort of, you had a relaxed conversational style, so mirror that with your hand gestures. The second person was Simon, and he was given the topic on doing a trade deal with Martians. Now, Simon is a sort of seasoned impromptu speaker, so he got up here and he was off. He used the stage, he used open hand gestures. The thing with Simon is he keeps going. He is actually the person that doesn't need the light, he will just keep going. But I like the way he's able to carry on the story. So, for example, he talked about greenbacks and then he referred to dollars. So it was all very relevant, and he actually answered the question. He did give Trump versus Boris. The recommendation I have for Simon is sometimes his words can get lost. So I would urge Simon to project his voice further so we hear everything. Because you have a lot to say, Simon, so keep it going. The third person was Tinty, another guest. Well done for coming up, first time. She went in and she answered the question straight off the bat, and she said I would choose Boris because he has blonde hair and red lipstick goes with blonde hair, and she did stall a little bit, and she's waiting for that green light. And that's where one of my recommendations is, if you get stuck, go off and talk about something else, or if you're really stuck, ask the question back to the audience, who would you choose? That's another way to keep going, but nevertheless, you stood up here and you got to the time, so well done for that. The fourth person was Cornwall, and whose name would she choose for her son? She was very confident, she looked like she was relaxed, and I like the way she put a spin on the question, because she said, I would choose Trump because they will trump good over evil. Yes, thank you very much. And I thought she had great hand gestures, and she kept that connection with the audience. My recommendation would be keep going, because I just felt like Cornwall had just started off and she kind of finished. And I wanted her to go on a little bit more. She was just getting to the interesting bit, and I feel like she cut herself off. So I would say go a little bit further if you can. The last speaker for this evening was Ahmad. And who would he give his wallet to? And he did a very useful technique, which is to repeat the question, who would I give my wallet to? And then he used that in terms of, I don't actually carry a wallet, I have a phone, and he produced his phone, so a clever way of sort of slowly answering the question, taking your time, giving yourself time to think. And he cleverly referred back to something we talked about earlier on in the evening, which was integrity. And he did stall slightly. He was waiting for the green light. But again, keep going. The only recommendation I have is there was a little bit of pacing. Some people might pick up, say that's a sign of a little bit of nerves. So maybe for the next table topic, take a stance and move a little bit more purposefully. But everybody did great. I really enjoyed the questions, and well done to the guests for coming up here. Thank you.
Thank you, Cam. I'd now like to invite our timekeeper back up to give us the time report for all of our evaluations.
Last joke, I promise. Why didn't the clock work? Come on, guys.
Was that a
It
sound?
needed a hand. Right. Evaluators. Rupa spoke for 2 minutes 41 seconds. Ibrahim 2 minutes 45 seconds. Sumit 3 minutes 2 seconds. David 2 minutes 50 seconds. And Cam 5 minutes 17 seconds. Thank you.
Finally, can we get another 30 seconds on the clock while we vote for our best evaluator? Thank you very much. We're now going to end into our last part of the evening. We're going to invite our grammarian up to give us a nice report on what she's seen tonight through our speeches. So I'd like to welcome Kamal up for her grammarian report.
Be right away. You'll have to excuse me if I don't have everyone's names, but I'll do my best. So what I really liked, what I heard, I was hearing, looking forward, phraseology, good English, things that say a lot. And our first speaker, there's our first speaker right here. I really liked her very simple use of English language, but it was so clear. How many of you think you can manage conflict? And it was just the simplicity of that sentence. I mean, you just fully got the meaning. And I like the sentence she used, I have to change, make a change. And another sort of solid line was common solutions, common ground. So those were the phrases I picked up from your speech. And Paula, committed to a life of learning. I like that phrase very much. And I'm a storyteller and I want to be a better storyteller. And she used some very emotive language. I felt crushed and you crumble. And she had the insect sort of crumbling. And that was really nice. Captivate, speaker number 3, which was just a beautiful word in itself. It says so much. And so 5 languages of love, I like that as well. That was nice. Primary and secondary tendency, which one do you gravitate towards? That was a question that she asked in the 5 languages of love. Then the 4th speaker, which was about Into the Wild. The reason this story needs to be told and the reason I want to tell this story. I mean, again, very simple but very effective use of language. And of course, the 3 sayings from the book, the core of a man's spirit comes from new experiences. Other language that I picked up from the evaluators was when you came on and you said dying alone in a snow bus 20 miles from anywhere. That was very like, painting a picture. You could just see that. So I like that. And to live a different and fulfilling life. And held us throughout, repeated twice, held us throughout. I really like this. This was my favorite phrase of the evening, and it kind of summed up what integrity means. Integrity is a test that needs to be passed every day. That came from yourself, and I'm going to remember that. And I really loved the ones on integrity, so I noted quite a few. Integrity is the base of decision making. I never saw it that way. So you can see how language can open up a new world to you. Integrity is to follow what feels right. And very vital to act with integrity. And I am drawn to those people who act with integrity. Came from our friend here with the wallet. And I thought that was good too, because now, maybe I can avoid those people that have been upsetting me. So, and then self-centered, self-serving, very colorful language, green dollars screw you for a lot of money. Indeed. I mean, that suited Trump, didn't it? And even cleverly referred back to integrity. The young lady who was just critiquing the table topic said that. And take a stance, move more purposefully. Again, language can say something, it can paint a picture, and some of it can be very simple. So I picked up all these phrases, and I really enjoyed being here and listening to all the English and looking out for all the grammar. Thank you.
Unfortunately, due to time, we're going to have to put a hold on our Harpmaster segment tonight, but I'd like to invite our General Evaluator up this evening so that he can give us a well-rounded view of our club. So I'd like to invite Brad Revel up to give us a nice general evaluation. Please make it nice.
Wow, okay. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. How do we have a good meeting tonight? Yes. Excellent. We learnt a lot?
Yeah.
Had fun?
Yes.
To get fed?
Yes.
Get watered?
Yes.
Excellent. Any no's? No? Okay. Alright, my role this evening is a general evaluator. So what we do in Toastmasters is all about getting an opportunity to come up, to participate, to learn, to get feedback. Now, as a general evaluator, I'm to provide feedback on the entire meeting, but more importantly as well, is to give feedback to those who didn't get feedback throughout the meeting. So we have evaluators, grammarians, timekeepers that all did roles, but haven't had a chance to get any feedback. So that way, we always learn. Everybody gets an opportunity to learn. And that's what my role is all about this evening. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it into two parts. First is going to be about the meeting itself, just an overview, and then I'll jump into some of the roles that we went through this evening. So I'll go through this really quickly. I like that meeting. I like Trojans. I've heard so many things about the Trojan Club from people who will be nameless, I should say. But it's nice to finally get here. Yeah, we all know who that is. But it's finally nice to get here and actually meet a number of the members here. So congratulations, love the venue, love the club, very warming, very welcoming, and that's what we want, especially when we have a lot of visitors coming in. So that at least you can get to know someone, sit down and like, oh, I remember my first meeting way back when. What do I do? Where do I sit? What do I need to know about? And it's an important bit of feedback for everybody in the meeting who plays a role. I'm a big stickler for not just talking about what you do, but also why you do it. It's a big Simon Sinek thing. And it's also with influencing. If you're a table topics master, for example, if you ask someone to do something, they're less likely to do it. But if you ask them to do something and tell them why to do it, they're more likely to go do it. Okay, so some bit of feedback for everybody. I also heard you also had a GE last meeting as well. It might have been coincidence, but I'm also always a big believer of having a GE and have a break and actually take in that feedback and have another GE. I think it's more coincidence that we had timing, but that's okay. What else did I have? On just the general meeting. Something about the recording. I don't know what we're recording this evening, but it's something just to announce during a meeting if people don't want to get recorded. I don't know what we were recording at all, so just maybe announce that at the start of the meeting. We're going to record this segment. Is everyone okay? I know with GDPR, everyone gets a bit freaked out about that stuff. And the other thing with the meeting, I know we went a bit of time, and I love that Cheryl brought back the meeting and kind of cut things out. There's a lot of evaluation time at the end. Like we had table topics evaluation for about 9 minutes, so it's a lot of time there. Maybe there's a bit of adjusting you can do on the agenda. So some things to think about as part of the meeting. All right, so that's the first part. Let me move straight into the second part, because I know I'm going to run out of time. David, President, love the introduction. A lot of energy. That's what you need as a president. You're opening the meeting. So you talked about politics. You talked about the heat, which is something that's really relevant, and it gets us all engaged. One thing about David I'd love to see him do is remembering that we want to talk to the most newest member or newest guest in the club. Explain what Toastmasters is about. You're the first person up. Talk about what Toastmasters is, why it's important, what we do as a club. Set the scene so that everybody can follow you. You're the president, you're the leader, so something to think about. You did talk about club business up front, but get into the Toastmaster stuff. I think the visitors here would have no idea what club contests are and all these other things. It's important, but get to the more important stuff. Get people involved, and then maybe come back to that in the second half as a suggestion. Cheryl, first time a Toastmaster. Love it. Well done, well done. Yeah, great introduction. And again, I'm going to hit on the what and the why. She talked about the what and the why in terms of the meeting. So she reviewed the structure and why we do the structure. I would just explain some of the little things like the handshaking and the clapping. Everything we do in Toastmasters, although I've been to Toastmasters for 18 years, like, oh my God, we're clapping and clapping. It's important, and it's important to explain. I know people came up here and it's like, I don't know what I need to do now. That's the role of the Toastmaster. When you come up, you shake hands. Why do we shake hands? Because it's a transition between one person to another person. Why do we clap? Because we want people to be motivated to get up here. We want them to be enthusiastic. It gets them riling. How would you feel if you got up and like someone's just doing one person clapping? So that's why we do it. So just explaining some of those roles and the hand clasping. Maybe try and work on that. But other than that, well done, well done. Timekeeper Nishta, my partner in crime, she got up, she talked about the what and why, although I did give you a bit of feedback on that. Love the jokes. But as a timekeeper, don't go over time with your introduction. I think you're way over time for your introduction. But that's cool. Kamal, grammarian, again, talking about the what and the why as well. So you came up, you went straight into the word of the day. Grammarian is really, really important, and it's not done in a lot of clubs. But it's great because words are important. How we use them, why we use them, when we use them, where we use them. That's what the grammarian's about. It's giving feedback on how the words were used. And I loved Kamal talked about all the things that she really enjoyed, and that was great, but also why those words were important. What effect do they have when you're communicating? Why is it important to have an acronym in a speech like ACT? Because we remember acronyms better. Why do we say certain things? Why do we do different things? So that's where the grammarian can really do your role. And I love your accent, by the way. I love your accent. Adrian was the Hark Master. We didn't get to hear the Hark Master feedback, but Hark is to hear and hear is to listen. I love that. I really love that. Okay, evaluation. Now quickly into evaluation. So Rupa, great introduction on being prepared. She went straight into it, but she didn't go back and say, I'm doing the evaluation, these are the objectives. Again, it's a different style, something to think about. She just jumped straight in about being prepared, and I thought that was a great way to jump into the speech. She related on a lot of the things that were done in the speech and why it was important. She did the CRC, and the CRC to everyone is commend and recommend, commend. It's something we recommend in Toastmasters. It gives you a nice structure on how to do evaluations. Only other feedback to Rupa was she's a little bit quiet. I know you mentioned about being louder, but you were a little quiet as well. Ibrahim, Ibrahim, wait, there you go. Ibrahim, I loved your evaluation. You're very loud and very clear, actually, which I thought was great. You did stand this side of the audience, and you were very much focused on this area, probably because it was Paula you were evaluating, right? Yeah, because you're focusing on Paula. Don't forget you got the rest of the audience. You did look over here, but I think because your stance was this way, you were very focused on Paula, which is fine. Remember, it's for everybody. Everybody gets something out of the evaluations. Evaluation 3, Sumit in the back. I love the timeline. You did a really nice timeline. You were involved, you were walking around, engaging with everyone. You gave some great feedback, like the 3 points instead of 5. I thought that was really, really good. One of the things I like to do is use people's names. You said she a lot. You're going, she did this, she did that. I love, people love the sound of their names. So maybe something to think about. And also come back to the objectives again as well. It's nice to talk about the speech, but always come back to the objectives. That's a really good way to focus. David, President, on the evaluation, great intro and straight objectives. Out of all the evaluations, I thought yours was fantastic, probably the best out of all of them, although I didn't vote, FYI. He had the great examples of the CRC, as I said. What is CRC? Do you remember the guess? Recommend. See, acronyms, people remember, I love it. So yeah, that's why we do it that way. And he had a very, very smooth delivery with no notes. So it was very difficult to come with feedback, other than he had 10 extra seconds which he could have used. Next time, David, use them, all right? Okay, Tim, the quick one on yours. I love your style. You got a really humorous style, but again, come back to the what and the why. Why are we doing table topics? And I know you came back the second time and said, well, you need to do it this time. You have these colors. So remember, just take a step back. Why are we doing table topics? What are we doing? Keep that nice and structured. Last one was Cam on the evaluation. You had plenty of time. Like, you could just cruise through your evaluation. It was great, like 9 minutes. Or did you get told to shorten it? Okay, all right. See, great Toastmaster. That's a really good Toastmaster that actually tells you to just cut it short. I liked how you recited through each particular speaker. That was great. So it gave an opportunity for everyone to understand what was worked, why you gave feedback. There's one where you talked about some Toastmaster feedback and you said maybe, kind of, sometimes. Just say the feedback. You don't need to sugarcoat it or bring it down. It is the feedback, so let people take that on board for you. The other thing I like to do is table topics, especially when you have a lot of table topics, although tonight was a bit little. If you've got a lot of common bits of feedback, bring that up at the front. Say, okay, there's a number of speakers tonight, and a lot of them did this, and this. Something for everyone to think about. Just if you have more topics. But other than that was a meeting. I think I'm maybe over time, probably not keeping the time. But thank you very much for your hospitality. It was a great meeting, great club, great people, visitors. This is the place to be. Who am I giving back to? Cheryl.
So Trojans, let's take all that feedback on and use it in our next meetings. And also, I'd just like you to think about why you've joined Toastmasters and build some integrity into your decision and come to the meetings, take part, because that is how we're going to grow. I'd like to hand over to our president for the awards sessions now. So let's welcome David.
Before I hand over the awards, I'm just going to throw something out here. I took an executive decision. There have been a lot of discussions about democracy and the lack of democracy in various countries. And I was entirely understanding, but still saddened to hear that we aren't having a Heartmaster tonight. So I would just like to put this to the people. Who would like to go for an extra few minutes and have a Heartmaster? Carrie. Adrian.
Okay. No, it's pinching any of them. Right, the rules are very simple. You have to stand up and be asked to answer. Anyone who shouts out is out. Anyone who doesn't stand up is out. First question. Where did Chris die? Don't give me it. Where did he die? Alaska. Correct. Sit down. Where did Chris exactly die?
In the bus.
No, it's the magic bus.
Too late.
Sit down.
In the bus in Alaska.
Sit down. Where did Chris exactly die?
The magic bus.
Oh, I was going to say school bus, but give her the chocolates anyway. Where do I come from?
Somerset.
Correct. Good answer. Who brought vitality to the meeting tonight? Correct. What was Kieran's first gift that she talked about?
Words of affirmation.
No.
Being outside with her friends.
No, that was the second one.
Playing sports.
No, sit down.
Playing round.
Sit down. Talk for me. Thank you very much.
So what was it?
Next question. I'm not telling you, you don't know the answer. You've got to pay attention more next time. Actually, it was sitting down and having dinner. Oh, yeah. How many did Summit say was better than 5?
3.
Correct.
That's right.
What sort of choice was it between...
Hobson's. Yeah, cheers.
Hang on a minute.
You jumped the gun.
Too late.
How long did Cheryl... Actually, I'm going to limit this question to non-Toastmasters only. If you're a Toastmaster and you stand up, you cannot answer it. How long did Cheryl give people to write their feedback for the speakers?
1 minute.
Correct. And finally, I'm going to finish with a joke. What did the robber say to the clock?
Hands up.
Correct. Hands up, round of applause, David. Hand you back. Must hand you back to you, mate.
Thank you. I love a little bit of rule-breaking democracy. So, Luke finishes chucking out the sweets. We come to my favourite part of the evening, which is handing out, thank you, landed right by my chair, which is handing out the awards for tonight. I would love to give a ribbon to everybody who came up here, and particularly to our guests for standing up and introducing themselves, and to some of those guests for coming up and presenting a table topic. That shows real integrity, that shows real vitality. It shows bravery, and it shows a willingness to try. So congratulations to all of you. Sadly, there is only one ribbon for each of 3 categories. We have a ribbon for the best table topic, we have a ribbon for the best evaluator, and we have a ribbon for the best speaker. But tonight, we have a bonus 4th ribbon, and it's my favorite ribbon to give out because it's something that everyone who comes on the Toastmaster journey experiences, and that is giving your first speech, your icebreaker speech. So Paula Lewis, I'd like to invite you up for your icebreaker. Best table topics, the award goes to Debbie. Best evaluation, the award goes to best speaker, and I especially love it when this happens. The best speaker tonight goes to Paula. Right. Officially 5 minutes through democratically approved processes, I declare this evening's meetings closed. Our next meeting is on the 11th of September, a normal meeting, and then on the 25th of September, the club competition. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.
Are you going?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, take care.